Alright, my name is Malcolm Martin, Malcolm Fitness on Instagram if you want to follow me. A little bit about me. Powerlifting for probably maybe a year now. 165 weight class. My biggest pull is 565 since we're talking about deadlifts today. And so as you watch this video of me pull 545, so basically we're just going to talk about how to deadlift. Nothing much to it than to do it. So first thing I want to talk about is setting up from the top down. And I think that setting up from the top down is the easiest and the most effective way for lifting something off the ground. Whether it's dumbbells, whether it's the bar, whether it's the stone, whether it's your kid, whether it's whatever it is, setting up from top down is the most effective way of lifting something off the ground. So basically, by organizing your spine in this top position, you're going to minimize the load on your spine and optimize trunk stability before grabbing the bar. So basically, you're going to brace yourself with a deep breath as you go down and pick up the bar. And then as you're picking up the bar, your legs might be a little straight at this point before you start to bring your shins to the bar. As you bring your shins to the bar, your back is going to straighten up. And then your hips are going to drop down closer to the bar, and your shins are either going to touch the bar or not touch the bar. I personally don't teach shins touching the bar because me, it's just like, well, there's more friction on the bar because it's grinding up against my shins. Not to say that you should still pull straight up. You're not going to be pulling out in front of you. As long as you're pull straight up, you'll be fine. And we'll talk more about that when we get into foot positioning. So to correctly perform the deadlift, you're going to be looking at trying to take almost all the slack out of the bar before lifting it. So basically, by saying slack, I mean if my bar is weighing 400 pounds, I'm trying to take as much of that 400 pounds by pulling on the bar while still maintaining a good form and pulling up on the bar without lifting the bar off the ground. So if I have 400 pounds on the bar, I'm trying to preload at least 200 pounds and just break it. Just think about if you're if a car is attached to another car by a rope, or it's like in a ditch or something, and you need to be able to pull that car out of the ditch with the other car. If that rope has slack in it, it's going to be very, very hard to pull that other car out of the ditch as it gets to moving. But if that rope has tension in it, then you're already pulling some of that tension out of the car that's stuck in the ditch before the other car starts to move off. So now back to what I was talking about with foot positioning. So myself, I like to set up about, I don't know, 2-3 inches away from my shins from the bar, and I think I capture a really good angle of how I set up. This is honestly how close my feet are together when I deadlift, and it's also how far I am away from the bar when I deadlift. So at this point right here, I have my feet, they're probably right under my shoulders, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of really strong lifters who have their feet a little bit wider, a lot of the strongmans, but it's more because of their mobility or the way they set up. Me, I have long arms, so I like this position. So the next thing I want to talk about is keeping a neutral spine in a good head position. So basically what I mean by neutral spine, a lot of people say flat back, but basically I want to keep a flat back also while my hips are down and my shins are close to the bar but not touching the bar, and my head's kind of down but not all the way down. As you can see here, my head's like slightly down, but I'm kind of looking forward a little bit, but I do not have my head up. Because with my head up, I'm kind of losing that neutral spine, and I'm kind of putting my traps back into my scapula, and that's not what I want. As you watch here, I have a thing I tuck my lats into my front pockets. So if you ever watch my deadlift, sometimes it looks like my upper back is rounding, but we'll talk about that later when we talk about upper back rounding. But basically, I'm creating tension. I'm keeping my arms tight because it's not, the deadlift is not a pull. It's not a shrug. It's a push. I'm pushing the ground away from me. So by tucking my lats into my front pockets or keeping those shoulders and those arms tight, I'm not pulling. I'm not struggling the weight up. I'm literally just standing up with the weight in my hands. So on to upper back rounding. Like I was talking about earlier, there's a lot of really strong lifters. Dan Green, a lot of big names, Ed Cohn, who had their upper backs round when they're deadlift. So right now this is, I don't know what this is on the bar. I think it's like 355, which is not that heavy for me. So you probably don't see my upper back round too much. It's like maybe a slight upper back rounding, but the upper back rounding isn't a bad thing necessarily. The upper back rounding is technically fixed flexion, meaning that the rounded forward and create tension and torque in that position. You see a lot of powerlifters do this because the short is the distance from the ground to the lockout. And while I'm talking on lockout, before I get to breathing, I like to think of this whole deadlift system as a ABC unit. So as you see, I'll call my head / shoulders A, my hips B, and then my ankles, feet, and stuff are C. Basically, it varies from time to time depending how good my form is looking. But basically, the only thing that should move for the most part is B, and which is your hips. Your hips are going to extend and come forward, and I think I do a pretty good job showing you in this demonstration. But your hips should come forward. You're not shrugging the weight up with your A, and obviously C, your ankles, your feet aren't moving. So real quick, we'll talk about breathing. As you see here, I'm getting my stance, I do my little ritual thing. But as I'm breathing, I'm trying to take a deep breath, and I'm going to push my belt away from me, getting some abdominal pressure. If you don't have a belt, you want to think as if you're trying to make a belt around you. Getting that abdominal pressure, and that's going to keep your low back safe, and you'll keep tension and torque in the deadlift. So that's all I got, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Follow me on Instagram at Malcolm Fitness. Like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.